Hi, it's Hani here. Welcome to my YouTube channel. If this is your first time visiting my channel, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell button so you get notified about my new uploads and also my live streams. In today's tutorial, we're going to decorate Easter Bunny silhouette cookies. I'm going to share with you several decorating techniques and I hope you will enjoy it. Let's dive right in. I'm going to start by making royal icing transfers. I have a template and I put the template inside of a clear, smooth protector sheet. I'm using white royal icing, 15 to 20 second consistency to outline the bunny head and also to fill the inside. When making royal icing transfers, it is paramount that you leave the transfers to dry on a flat surface. So if you are in need of moving these, make sure that you have, let's say, a cutting board or a baking sheet that you can easily lift up and move these in the area where you can leave them to dry. Otherwise, just slide these across the table and don't try to pick them up as they are drying. Okay. Now, once you are done with all the transfers, like I said, let them dry 8 to 12 hours and then you can remove them from the acetate. When removing transfers, just be careful, try not to rush it. These can break, they are fragile, so I always recommend that you make more than you need in case there is some breakage. You can store these in an airtight container layered between pieces of paper towel or you can use food wrap and store them away from direct sunlight and moisture. Now we are ready to ice the cookie. I already started. I'm using light blue royal icing, 15 second consistency to outline, and I'm using same piping bag with the same consistency icing to fill. So you can see more icing is coming out. This is simply because I am squeezing the piping bag just a bit more, so more icing comes out. And now I'm going to use a scribe tool. If you don't have a scribe tool, you can also use a toothpick to distribute the icing evenly. If there are any areas with gaps between the edge and the middle, you can use this tool to distribute the icing and smooth it across the cookie. If you see any dimples, add a little more icing and then smooth it again. I'm going to make another color. We're going to do dark blue, so we're going to be doing light blue and dark blue. And so we have to ice another cookie. And to make the cookies, I used my classic sugar cookie recipe. And you'll notice there are some orange bits on the surface. This is because I've added orange zest, which is amazing. Have you tried adding orange zest or lemon zest to your cookie dough? For a full recipe, you can visit my blog, hanielas.com, and I'm also putting a link to the recipe in the description box if you wanted to check it out. Here again, I'm using 15 second consistency royal icing. I already started with outlining and now I'm filling in. And then we're going to use a scribe tool again to distribute and smooth the icing across. After this step, we're gonna have to let the icing dry. So just set your cookies on a flat tray or a baking sheet and let them air dry for 6 to 8 hours. Now we're gonna have to let the icing dry and then we can stencil with royal icing. I've got my beautiful stencil here. I'm putting it into a stencil holder. Center it on your cookie and now with thick consistency royal icing, about the same color that we used for the base, you want to spread the icing across the cookie. I'm stenciling the whole cookie, so you want to spread the icing from one edge to another edge. You want the whole cookie be stenciled. And so now I'm switching to a larger plastic spreader, making sure that everything is even and icing is evenly spread across the whole cookie. There is going to be some excess, so don't be alarmed when you lift up the stencil on the edges. There's going to be excess, you can see that. It's a simple fix. You just need to use a palette knife or a spatula to scrape that off to clean that edge. And after this, we're going to let this dry for about 3-4 hours. It should be sufficient. And then this is an optional step, but I decided to kind of antique my cookie. So I'm using brown petal dust. This is cappuccino, and my large fluffy food only paintbrush that is dry. And I'm just adding some of this dust on my dry icing. It's very important, paramount, that the icing is dry. If it's not dry, you're going to mess up the design. And this is just going to kind of accentuate that design that we added with the stencil. But if you prefer, you can leave it without petal dust. Obviously, it's a personal preference. So now that we've done that, we're going to add another layer of icing, and this is with a PME leaf tip ST51. And I'm using, this is about piping consistency royal icing. And I've colored my royal icing with just a touch of green. And as you see, I'm making the leaves straight. If you'd like to have some movement in your leaf, you can move your piping tip up and down. That will create a wavy leaf. And I used food coloring. I used food coloring from Wilton. I believe it's called juniper. Correct me if I'm wrong. I've said it wrong multiple times already. And now to attach the bunny silhouette, all you have to do is add just a little bit of kind of 15-20 second consistency icing on the back, and very gently using shifting motion. Don't press too hard on it. You can secure it on your cookie. And now let's switch to stencils and let's do the dark blue cookie. So again, I'm going to be using thick consistency royal icing. You can see it's not spreading, it's not going anywhere. If you're using icing that is too runny, what can happen, it tends to run under the stencil, and it's basically going to ruin your design. It's going to mess up the design. So it's better to use icing that is thicker when you're stenciling on cookies. And again, as you can see, I'm trying to match the base color, so I'm using the same, basically same color as I did for the flooding. And now carefully lift it up. Again, there is some excess. You need to clean that up immediately after you stencil. If you wait for the icing to dry, then you won't be able to remove it as easily without possibly even breaking a cookie. Because the royal icing, it dries hard, so remove it right after. And now we're gonna have to let this dry again. Like I said, 3-4 hours should be sufficient. And then you can add that brown petal dust if you'd like to. And I'm going to also at this time add the border. If you don't have this particular piping tip, this is, like I said, PME ST51. You can also use standard piping tip, that is leaf tip 352, although the shape of the leaf might be slightly different. And now we're going to attach the bunny silhouette. And there. Now I wanted to add some gold to my design. So instead of traditional gold, I decided to use rose gold. I mixed it with a little bit of Everclear. You can also use non-alcoholic activator. That's a product that's available if you cannot consume alcohol. Generally, we use alcohol with luster dust because it evaporates very quickly. If you let liquid sit on royal icing, it starts to pit and soften. So that's why we use alcohol when we are making these paints, because it evaporates quickly and it's not sitting on the icing. And the very last thing was inspired by one of the viewers during the live stream. It was suggested that I add a nose, so I'm using a heart sprinkle and just a little bit of icing for the glue. And this will conclude this beautiful Easter design. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Thank you so much for watching. And again, if you are new to my YouTube channel, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell button so you get notified about my new uploads and also my new live streams. And I'll see you next time. Bye!